so Michael Ann, you wanted to share something kind of like a little bit from a teacher's perspective,
kind of
what Christy
was talking about. So I had a parent call me on about August 20th about her son that had already graduated from pre-K. And frankly, he started his strawberry year not speaking.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't enter play, he just watched. He was super, super smart, but just moved around the classroom, taking everything in. By the end of the class, and quite frankly, like, it kind of makes me tear up.
Totally.
He was talking, he was social, he was so ready to go.
Yeah.
But Mom was like, oh man, I don't think I can send him. Like, he's too
This
little.
was the August 20th
Yes.
call.
And I was like, oh my gosh, he's so ready. He is gonna soar. And on the first day at kindergarten, he hopped on that bus, waved goodbye.
I bet you got a picture.
Oh, sure I did.
Yeah, you
Yeah, yeah. So it's all about, you know, that each child is different.
Yeah, totally, right, because some might be young and they're ready to go.
Yep.
And it's still a hard decision for parents. It's good. It's good. So one of the things that we've touched on many times now is social and emotional learning. And Michael Ann, I'd love it if you could share even part of that beginning of the school year, but something that we've incorporated into our classrooms and our hallways, or really all of our schools, our school-wide guidelines. What are they, and what would you say for you as a teacher, what does it look like to incorporate those into the classroom and kind of foundationally for the social emotional learning in the classroom?
So the school-wide guidelines are basically what is appropriate and what is inappropriate behavior in each spot. How do you walk down the stairs? How do you walk up the stairs? How do you walk in the hallway? Do you run in the hallway? Do you jump around in the bathroom? Do you wash your hands after you go to the bathroom? So it is every step of the day modeling and explaining. So the first few days, I mean, they're kind of long days, going through all of the different transitions that happen. But what happens is if you kind of start with all of that, then by October, you know, November, you're able to kind of let go a little bit, and everyone is having a really good time.
One of the things where that gets incorporated in our behavior guidance plan, it begins with that, like laying the foundation for what does it look like to be safe and kind and solve problems. Those are the 3 school-wide guidelines. And so if teachers are laying that groundwork, that it's a super helpful thing for everything else that's to come. So it's been fun to watch teachers incorporate that in, and we need to remember to make sure parents know.
And it's as simple, you know, sometimes you'll have some child that's building this huge tower, and then, you know, you have another child that comes and like knocks it down, and maybe blocks hit another child, and, you know, that conversation afterwards of, wow, like, how does everyone feel? You know, and really no one feels very good.
Yeah, right,
So,
right. And like, how was that safe, you know, and laying that groundwork, it's so good. Claire, when you think about conflict, so I mean, Michael Ann, you could we could all speak to it, conflict with these little kids, but when you think about conflict resolution in your classroom, what are some of the things that you do that you think are great for families to know about?
Yeah, so we do a lot of modeling in kindergarten because some of these kids don't have those skills yet and need to be taught those skills very specifically and practice them over and over and over again. So in my classroom, you know, we call them expectations every day about everything we do. It's always repeated. So one big one I can think of is the playground. So lots of conflicts can arise on the playground. And learning and modeling, you know, if someone's bugging you, the first step is to say, hey, please stop. I don't like blank. And giving that specific script so they know how to say it instead of just saying stop and running away. You know, please stop, I don't like blank. And if that still doesn't resolve, then you go find an adult. And so modeling that behavior, doing role play activities where we act out how a situation could go.
Sure.
And then also, you know, keeping it kind of light and playful in a sense, because they are just 5. And if you dig too deep, they're gonna miss it.
Right.
So, and working in those situations when things like that happen, you know, I've had experiences where a kid was coloring and some kid came and just tore up the paper. And working and be like, oh, what happened and how can we fix it?
Right.
And those skills are big, is like, you could offer a new piece of paper, you know, here are your options, and you know, apologizing and figuring out how to make things and fix things. And it's so important through play to have those experiences because they translate right into the academic world too.
And humor goes so far. You know, if in those moments you can make things a little fun, the one that maybe made the bad choice, you know, doesn't feel so bad. The one that's maybe crying is now laughing, and you know, it all feels a lot more positive. Yeah.
When I do some role modeling, the one I can think of is we were acting out recess, and I always play the person that gets in trouble so the kid doesn't feel
Oh, that's a good idea.
like they're the ones that are having to be the bad.
Singled out.
Singled out, yes. And, you know, their example was a kid was poking, I'm like, and I'm just poking away, and I'm still poking, and I'm poking, and they were just laughing, and they thought it was so funny that I was the one who was poking and being, you know, and keeping it that way. And then we'd be like, would you ever do that? And they're like, no. And so, yes, keeping it light, keeping it playful, but keeping it to a level where they can learn and understand it. And, you know, parents can do that at home, working with, you know, if there's siblings or they have a play date, you know, modeling it for them and keeping it to the forefront where the point gets across without going too deep. I don't know if you guys speak to that too. Like, you don't want to go over their heads, but you want to get it and practice it over and over again so they understand.
I can't help but think our parent educator, Becky Danielson, I feel like that's one of the main tools that she gives parents is role modeling. So when my kids were young, I didn't think of role modeling at all. But I've heard Becky share with parents a number of times the idea of whether it's feeling intimidated, stepping into something, or they're having a lot of conflict with the child, that suggesting to parents, act it out. One of you be them and show them. And I think that's such a great tool for young parents that I didn't think about.
Not even with conflict resolution, but, you know, noticing there's a kid on the playground or playing who's by themselves and being like, hey, do you want to come play with us? Or do you like this? Like, come join. And so the role modeling and the role playing is great for conflict resolution, but also just how to engage with other people socially. Yeah.
We do an activity in the strawberry class about a wrinkled heart. And so you have a piece of paper that's in the shape of a heart. And I ask the children to come up with words that might make my heart feel sad. And so as they're doing these, I wrinkle the heart, and I wrinkle it up into a tiny, tiny ball as they say more and more things. And then I say, so how do you make my heart feel better? And so then they come up with positive words, and, you know, we flatten out the heart. And everyone feels good, and, you know, and I keep that on the board, you know, for the whole year, you know, and so when someone says something that might be a little nudgy, you know, like, hey, you know, how's that making their heart feel, you know, and it works pretty well.
Yeah, having those activities incorporated in. So when you think about all this groundwork laying, socially, emotionally, is so good. And Michael Ann, I'm thinking about the learning that is going on in the classroom. We've covered a lot, but when you incorporate early literacy into your pre-K classroom, because you're looking at all the domains of learning, science and math and approach to learning, creative work. When you think about literacy, what is it that you do? Particularly, I'm thinking, I don't know if it's Mondays, but the day when you have all the different things out.
Well, literacy is my passion. So, so each day is based on a book. And so whatever that book may be, there will be some sort of activity, that we'll do with it. There may be some art activity, that goes with it. Oftentimes I have what we call a story basket. And so the story basket will have the different characters from the book. And so then later they can, the children can play with it and act it out. I like to read it, and then I like to have them tell me what happened. And then maybe we read it again. And, they're like, oh man, I forgot that, this happened. And all of that storytelling is so important for their literacy. I also work a lot with letters, so I have one day that's based on the letter day. And so everything, all the play is based with letters. And it's fun. It's not,
I love walking in on those days, all the Scrabble letters here and this word game over there. And one of the things, as you're talking about storytelling, I feel like when I have a good friend who's a kindergarten teacher, and one of the things that she said to me once, that love of books, not just reading, but books themselves, and the idea that there's a story in that. One of the things that I feel like I see that happens in the Strawberry Year, because of all the reading and storytelling, expanding on the books, I feel like in almost every single pre-K classroom, starting in February, they want paper stapled together so they can write a book.
So they can make their
So they can make a book.
Yes.
And I talk about that on tours. I think that it's such a cool progression. And for some of them, they're drawing a picture and they're dictating, their teacher's writing it down. For others, they're writing their letters now, and they're like, how do I spell dinosaur? The teacher writes out dinosaur. How do I spell 8? My mom, or whatever the story is. And to see that love of story translate into what becomes the pre-writing skills or the pre-reading skills.
Absolutely. And the beauty of when they start making those books, and some do it earlier, some do it later, but when you have that one child that's really into it, and maybe you have a child that, like, I don't know, they just want to play with cars. But they start seeing that, wow, that's kind of cool. I want to do it too. And so then you have the different words on the table that they can write a story about, and they become curious, and they pull that word over and they try and write it, and maybe they can't write it perfectly, but you help them out, and they put a picture that goes with it, and they feel so proud.
I always love seeing those up in the hallway. They're so much fun.
I have something to add to that too.
Yeah.
You're thinking about literacy, I feel like people jump to reading right away, and it's more than just reading. It's can they recall a story? Can they look at a book and they're able to page through a book and point out characters? Or, it's more than just, can my child read by the end of kindergarten? A lot of things that we assess on are, story retell and character setting. And it does help then translate into writing. When we do journal work, I'll say, oh, where are you? Where is your setting in your journal? I'm at the park. And they'll go write the park, and then they'll draw the park. So it all connects into it. And getting in, I don't know if reading's coming up or not, but you guys can maybe talk about, well, for kindergarten homework, ours is just 20 minutes of reading. They get a reading log, and the importance of not only them being engaged in literacy, but also being heard being read to is super, super
Yes, the
important.
importance of read alouds.
Which that's what we send home is a reading log every month, and
Right.
that's kindergarten homework for
That's
us.
awesome. That's awesome. So it's pretty foundational.
Yeah.
So Callie and Christy, you've both had kids go off to kindergarten, and they have an assessment before the school year starts. And how did that feel? Did you feel like their math assessment, reading or language assessment? How did that feel? How did you see them prepared for whatever it was that their kindergarten teacher was going to be doing with literacy? That transition from preschool to kindergarten with this area of learning. Callie.
So I guess I was never concerned academically because I feel that that's what kindergarten's for, right? Kindergarten's supposed to teach them the beginning stages of reading and the beginning stages of, writing and that piece of literacy. For me, it was, can he sit in a circle and listen to a book? Yes. Can he recall characters?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I was never worried about, can he sit and write a full story and can he identify everything? And I wasn't obsessed with the perfectionism that I think sometimes in the modern world a lot of us can get wrapped up in. What does kindergarten prep look like? What are the kids supposed to know?
Right.
Versus what is actually important. What do the kindergarten teachers really want?
Right.
Do they want their kids to be able to open their lunchbox and zip up their pants, or to be able to read a full book?
Right.
And from what I'm hearing, it's more the social piece.
It is that independence, that social, and knowing that kids come in, some come in reading and some don't, but everyone starts from ground zero.
Yep.
That's the job of, they come in and you teach them as if they know nothing. And some kids do, and some kids, have those foundational skills and know that. But if they're not
And
social,
they might learn something new.
exactly,
That they just didn't pick up.
they didn't know, or they weren't quite ready to learn yet. And
Yep.
so knowing that kids coming in, I shared the story. My mom and I went to Lakeshore to get some books, and we met some grandparents who were there, who had their grandchildren for the summer, and they were looking at workbooks and they were looking at all this stuff, and they were like, "What should he do?" We're like, "Does he know this? Can he do this?" And she's like, "Well, I'm really concerned he's not reading yet." And I said, "It's okay. Everyone comes in on the same level playing field." So they're like, "Oh, really? We didn't know that."
Like they felt like for their child to be ready to go to kindergarten, they had to be reading.
They had to know how to read, or they had to know their letters already, or they had to know how to do this. And we're like, "Nope, that's what kindergarten is for." So I really appreciate you saying that.
Well, and I think another argument too, which you could speak to, is a lot of parents might want their kids to be ahead going into kindergarten. So once they all get there, you're saying, I don't care if you're ahead or not, we're all starting here. So
You can run into boredom.
right.
That's
So
one
then the kids who are reading at a second grade level, who are starting kindergarten, they're still sitting in those lessons. I mean, so
There are those times, we talked about differentiation, there are those small group times where you can pull them, because I had a couple high readers who are reading Boxcar Children in kindergarten. And there are specific times to do that, but majority of the time, kindergarten is taught whole group.
Right.
And so being able to sit in whole group and not being, well, I already know this, but being able to sit and learn from a lesson that maybe, I always say, it might be easy for you, but it's not easy for everybody, and that's okay.
Right.
So I really appreciate,
And there's going to be something that's not going to be easy for you. So
Yep. And that's okay too.
Exactly. Yeah. So, Christy, you and your 4 kids,
Yeah, I know.
they've all, learned to read, which is just a little bit of what we're talking about right now in different ways.
And different ages and different.
So
Yeah.
you maybe more than any of us can speak to developmentally.
Well, how different
Did you feel
each
like
kid
they were
is.
ready for what they got in kindergarten that way? And then how did you see them? What were some of the differences with each of them?
I feel like Berry Patch made them ready to learn to read
Right.
because they were excited about books. They could sit and listen to a story quietly, and take it all in. And that's really what I wanted.
Right.
as a
As a parent.
Was it helpful for them in kindergarten?
oh, absolutely.
Has their journey with reading been similar?
Every child, no. Each of my children's journey to reading is very, very different. My first two boys, Charlie and Henry, picked up reading quickly and picked up a love of reading very quickly. My second son, Henry, was reading full books in kindergarten. But my third child, our first daughter, Kate, reading was tricky. And it still kind of is, and she's going into third grade. But the berry patch still got her to love books and love listening to stories, and she has that grit, and she wants to learn how to read. It's just a little trickier for her, but we have no doubt she'll get there.
That's so great. Such a wise perspective.
Yeah, and Emma, we'll see. She's going into kindergarten.
Yeah.
She also she'll sit with me up in bed as long as I'll let her, and I'll read her tons of stories. And I'll say, okay, it's bedtime.
Yeah, I remember that with my
So-
kids. Like, okay, I don't know if I can
Yeah.
read another book. I'm
I
so
know,
tired
it's
now.
late.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really great.